Hey guys, I'm here at a screening of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and afterwards there's going to be a Q&A with Steven Spielberg. So I'm here in downtown Los Angeles, and it's going to be awesome. So let's go inside. So I'm here at the movie theater, waiting for Indiana Jones to start. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. Is this your?
Yeah, I'm putting this on my YouTube.
So many people want to watch a video of you sitting in a movie theater.
Yeah. I think you guys will like it. Cool, because I'm gonna film video of Steven Spielberg afterwards doing the Q&A.
You could make a bootleg of this movie because nobody's seen it before.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, very obscure film. But no,
early Spielberg.
Yeah, no, I think
he was just on
just
the make.
kid.
He was on the make, just a kid, finding his identity as a filmmaker.
It's true. But yeah, I think you guys would want to see Steven Spielberg talk about the movie. Hopefully I can get my question in, which is going to be, please tell George to stop tinkering with his movies, because they're starting to suck. What would you want to ask him?
Nothing. I wouldn't want to ask him anything. I would just want to tell him that.
Just tell him that.
Tell him that, because George listens to him.
Yeah.
George will take his advice.
So it's not so much a question as it is just like a general announcement, like just talk
ultimatum.
to George. Yeah,
it's an
ultimatum. Talk to George. Tell him he's fucking up. Like, yeah. All right, that's good.
Jaws. Jurassic Park. Schindler's List. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Munich. Saving Private Ryan. Empire of the Sun. Color Purple. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And a movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark. Ladies and gentlemen, Steven Spielberg. How about that? You like that? You know, you and I were talking back there. I'm not sure that Raiders has ever looked as good as it looked on that big screen tonight. Tell us a little bit about that.
No, this is the best I think it's ever looked because in preparation for the eventual release on Blu-ray, we had to go and correct the print again and get the original negative out of the salt mines, and then we had to do the separations and basically the files, which are just amazing, and with all the technology of today, without changing any of the movie materially. Like, we haven't removed anything, we haven't added CGI.
Thank God!
It's really a movie that some of you may remember from 1981. Looking at the age of the audience, most of you don't remember it from 1981. But it is the movie, but it just looks so much better.
You know, every movie that you do, I imagine, is a journey, for you personally. Tell us about this film. How was Steven Spielberg different before Raiders compared to after? I mean, how did this movie change you in any way?
Well, before Raiders, I needed a job because I had just made 1941 and nobody would hire me. George Lucas, my friend. Yeah, I needed the eggs, and this was sort of right up my alley because I had been a tremendous fan of the real B-movie Republic serials, and certainly so was George Lucas. So when it's an old story, but maybe it just bears repeating a little bit. That I was in Hawaii with George because he was terrified of the opening of Star Wars, and he called me and said, "You want to go to Hawaii with me? And we'll sit there and just build a lucky sandcastle," because Star Wars was about to open. This was in May of 1977, and it opened. It was a huge success, and in those days you knew it was going to be a success when all the 10 a.m. shows were sold out, and they were across the entire nation. And George came back more relieved than I had ever seen him, and started planning his next opus. And he sprung this concept that he had on me called Raiders of the Lost Ark, about this intrepid sort of gravedigger archaeologist going after somewhat like paranormal antiquities from all over the world. And he didn't outline the story because we didn't really have the story, but he had the genre, he had the idea, and he had the homage it would pay to all of the Republic serials. So right away I was intrigued, and I really was excited, and we made a deal right there on the beach to do this movie.
That's great. You know, you described, just at Comic-Con when I saw you last, you described George, you said, my friend, no, I should say my best friend. You made a point to call him that. As a fan of film, that's a fascinating sentence to think about the friendship between you two. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, do you text each other? Do you sit around and...
George doesn't do text or email ever. I've never received a text or an email from George, and he's never received one from me. He's a phoner, you know, it's all the telephone, or it's in person. So it's either eyes on or it's a telephone call, but it's never texting.
What's the sort of the texture of your conversations? I mean, do you guys talk a lot about film, or do you find yourself talking about other things?
No, you know, I get a phone call, and this is right here.
Hey, Steve. What are you doing?
So I'm sort of sitting around working, George. You know, I'm making 10 pictures a year as a producer. What are you doing?
No, I don't know.
That's so awesome.
I mean, he always has something going, but it's funny. We talk for, the thing with George, when George and I get on the telephone, I have to clear my morning or my afternoon because we talk for a long, long time. The only person I've ever talked to at the length I talked to George, believe it or not, is Stanley Kubrick when we were friends in the 80s. But George, you know, and we talk about everything. We talk about movies, and we talk about his projects and my projects. We talk about our families and our friendship, and it's been an enduring friendship. I met George when he premiered THX at the Royce Hall UCLA-USC Film Festival in 1967, I think it was. So we've known each other for a long time.
Do you ever talk about another Indiana Jones movie?
One person wants to see it.
Well, after
The
four.
only person in the audience.
And that was Shia.
No. I think that was the only bridge we didn't burn because of Indy 4. We talk about it, yes, and we're hopeful someday.
Please make it good.
There's so many things that you put on the screen in this film and the other indie films that we all love. There's one scene that it really, for some reason, just resonates, I think, with fans so much. It's the swordsman scene.
Yeah.
I've heard so many different versions of how that scene got into this movie. Could you clarify for us exactly how that happened?
Okay, well, the truth is that the morning we were supposed to shoot this 3-page-long sword versus whip fight between the swordsman and Indy. And Harrison came to me in the morning, he said, he always calls me pal, he said, listen pal. He said, I went into like Senior Barfies and I had something that didn't agree with me last night, and you've got about an hour with me, and then I'm going back to the hotel because I'm really sick, so what do you want to do? And I think I said, well, we have 3 pages to shoot, but if you pull out your gun and kill the swordsman, you can go back to the hotel.
No, that's rubbish.
Holy shit! Oh my god. That is so awesome!
That's not right?
Oh my god.
An approximation. What happened was that I was.
Please jump Harrison forward.
I had chosen to eat native food, unlike Stephen, who went to Tunisia with a steamer trunk full of SpaghettiOs. And I had suffered mightily for my for that, and I was no longer capable of staying out of my trailer for more than it took to expose a roll of film, which was 10 minutes, 10 minutes. And then I would have to flee back there for sanitary facilities.
I enjoyed tomorrow's with you.
God, I wish I would have gotten that on camera.
Sorry, what was the question?
You keep going, that's better. Warlord of Mars, go with it. No, just, that's got to be a mixed bag. I mean, as an actor, you love losing yourself in new roles. And new
No,
genres.
there's no mix in that bag. It's an absolute delight to revisit this character, have a chance to work with Stephen again. Who hires me for Indiana Jones.
But he's here.
Oh, right, but I'm an actor, you know?
Well, that's it. I hope I don't embarrass you.
I'm waiting for Tom Hanks to take it serious.
No. You know who I offered Jurassic Park to? This guy. Oh. Alan Grant, first offer to Harris.
Well, anyway. That was a lot like going to Mars. Well, anyway,
What really scared Harrison was I had the art department, and I still have the painting. I drew a painting of the character of Alan Grant with a kid, Lex and Timmy in each hand, running toward camera and a huge T-Rex chasing after him. And I told him to put Harrison's face on the character. I think that might have done the trick.
T-Rex.
Alan Grant.
anytime, there's a, next time we get a script for Indiana Jones, I'd be delighted to play the character again. The thing that we all both had as an ambition for the character in the series was that each time we meet Indiana Jones, we have the occasion to go to a new Indiana Jones film. We wanted to advance the audience's understanding of and experience with the character, not just by putting in new adventures, but learning something new about him, something about what made him what he is, and that led to meeting his father in the person of Sean Connery, and meeting his son in the person of Shia, and bringing back Karen, and all of those things, which are, to me, what makes the character so interesting to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, you obviously have a lot of movies coming up. You have 2 movies in December scheduled for release. Tintin. I think one of your stars is here, right? Isn't Simon here? Simon Pegg? Yeah.
Where's Simon Pegg? Now wait, I forgot. Were you the Thompson with the P or without the P? All right, and Nick Frost is the other one, right? Okay.
And then you also have Warhorse, which is very popular among us. Raiders has a link to Tintin in a way. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm sort of interested in that. You hadn't really heard of Tintin until Raiders was released, is that right?
I hadn't heard of Tintin at all. We were, when Raiders came out, my assistant came over to me and said, there's an interesting review in one of the, or 2, maybe even 3 of the French newspapers, and they kept referring to Indiana Jones in reference to Tintin. I didn't speak French, but I got hold of she sent me the newspaper, I looked at it, and the review kept saying Indiana Jones, spelled out, of course, in English, and then this thing, Tintin, all over the place. And I didn't understand what it meant, and I had the review translated, and they were basically saying that Indiana Jones owed a lot, Raiders of the Lost Ark owed a lot to Hergé's Tintin. And so I got a hold of the book, which was not easy to get a hold of in 1981 in the United States. But I got hold of the book, and I read the book, and I could see that there was a lot of similarities, a lot of links between both. If I came out with just one E.T. on Blu-ray, 1982, would anybody object to that? No! Okay, then so be it.
30th anniversary screening of E.T. next year.
Yeah.
Harrison, you know, the last time I saw you, we were out in the desert and you were making Cowboys and Aliens. And one of the David Lindelof? One of the things that you said when we were talking out there is that you felt like the sort of digital age of filmmaking, when you looked around at some of the movies that you saw coming out, you felt like they didn't quite have the soul that they always used to have. You felt like science fiction, some of the films that you had seen other people making, didn't really sort of speak to you on a human level.
Well, I think what I was struggling to talk about probably was that the potential that filmmakers have with computer-aided graphics is it's wonderful and can be wonderfully creative, but it can also lead to a failure to attend to human scale, to go so far beyond our experience and our imaginations as an audience, to remind us that we're watching a digital effect, rather than some subtle extension of our experience, which makes us feel like it's humanly possible. And this leads to a vast field of computer created enemies, which, as far as the eye can see, and beyond, and they're up against one or two humans. This kind of potential, I think, often robs movies of a degree of soul.
However,
That's just me.
no, I think it's a tool. The digital tools available to all of us is simply that. It's just a tool. And we can either make a movie that celebrates the digital era, where we throw away story and just do a bunch of crazy, wonderful special effects that keep us entertained but don't give us anything to remember beyond the fact we spent 2 hours watching all of these expensive effects, or we can continue to write good stories, original stories, real strong narratives, where the digital components are simply going to, if not enhance the experience, another way to have an experience. I couldn't have made Jurassic Park that anybody would have believed in this, even back in 1993. You wouldn't have believed that movie if the dinosaurs had been stop motion animation, claymation. You wouldn't have believed it. So that's where a digital tool, and that was the first movie ever to use digital technology to create an entire character. Matter of fact, a whole bunch of characters in the animals. So there's a time and place for it. In The Abyss, that digital tool where Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, her face is on the end of that water snake, that water tendril, was awesome, was phenomenal. We had never seen anything like that before. And that stands out when it's used, because the story needs it to be used at that exact moment. It's when everything is just a special effect that we start to lose our way.
Taking that a little